There's a train a-comin'. You don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord. So people get ready. There's a train of justice. It's driving all night to come pick you up. Faith is the key. Open the doors and join us. There's hope for all in this unselfish love. Oh, it's hard to stay family with a hateful sinner who would tear down their neighbors just to gild their homes. But have pity on those whose hearts have grown harder, who shut out the light even as the kingdom comes. Yeah. Some people get ready. There's a train coming. You don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the engines humming. You don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord. Say you don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord. Just show up and live it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Freedom Church of the Poor. I'm so excited because today's service is going to be amazing. As we were planning this, the song that kept coming into my head was Mary Did You Know, a Christmas song. But if you really listen to it, it is, what she has, her future patience for her child, what is going to be happening in his future. And I am so happy to be here. And I'm so happy that we are going to get started today. I am Zilla Wesley with the DC Poor People's Campaign. And we are just going to start off with Melissa Dean with the...
The mission of the Freedom Church of the Poor is to be a spiritual home for movement leaders and a place to help nurture moral leadership for the struggle to end poverty, systemic racism, ecological devastation, militarism, and the false moral narrative of Christian nationalism. We reject the religion of empire, which blames the poor for their poverty, pits poor and dispossessed people against each other, and promotes the false narrative that poverty cannot be ended, only alleviated through charity. The Freedom Church of the Poor began meeting in March of 2020, just as the COVID-19 pandemic was breaking out in the US. The Freedom Church comes together in these times out of necessity to help end a system that is killing us. We are a loose network of workers, poor folks, pastors, organizers, thinkers, and fighters. We are bound together by our conviction that the world does not have to be this way and that this is not as good as it gets, because God created abundance for all, not just for a few. We are interfaith, interspiritual, and non-religious, and come from every region of the country. We welcome all who wish to be a part of the movement.
Perfect. Next, we'll have Shally with the National Union of the Homeless mission statement for the longest winter.
The heart and soul of the National Union of the Homeless is to commit our lives to ending homelessness and poverty and to work tirelessly for the human right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, for social and economic justice for all. We dedicate ourselves to raising the awareness of our sisters and brothers, to planning a sustained struggle, and to building an organization that can obtain freedom through revolutionary perseverance. We pledge to deepen our personal commitment to end all forms of exploitation, racism, sexism, and abuse. True solidarity demands that we create not only the new society, but also the new human being.
That's right. Thank you for that. And next, we're going to have Colleen with honoring the land that we are all sitting on.
Hi, everyone. I'm joining you first from Shawandasi, Tula, and Kickapoo lands. We, the Freedom Church of the Poor, gather on lands tended for countless generations by people who over the last 5 centuries have been dispossessed, displaced, and to whom colonizers and their descendants have tried to deny humanity. We see how the brutality of colonization never ended, how the poverty, racism, militarism, ecological destruction, and Christian nationalism that we fight are the results of a country founded with genocide, enslavement, and theft. We stand with the indigenous peoples in a demand for material reparations for colonization and for the false and broken promises of the US government that indigenous people have rights to their own land and space. We are in unwavering solidarity with their calls for sovereignty and self-governance and for the return of land and the rights to live in relationship with it, including with our sisters, brothers, and siblings of the Apache stronghold. Every time we assemble as a church, we welcome and encourage everyone to find and name the people whose land they inhabit as a ritual of remembrance and of resolve. You can find the name by entering the place you live at native.land-land.ca. We mourn the inconceivable losses of the peoples of these lands and the legal regimes we live within based on selfish and self-serving interpretations of Christian scripture. We remember with them, we are with those who live and fight now, and we commit to the work of seeking right relationship in this land.
Thank you. We are always with each other. So next there will be an opening song by Tess.
Yes, and Tessa is a revolutionary daughter with the Maine Poor People's Campaign, and recorded this song as she wasn't able to be live with us tonight. So this is Tessa's version of a Pat Humphreys song here.
We're gonna keep on moving forward. We're gonna keep on moving forward. We're gonna keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna keep on loving boldly. We're gonna keep on loving boldly. We're gonna keep on loving boldly. turning back, never turning back. We're gonna work for change together. We're gonna work for change together. We're gonna work for change together. And never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna raise this house with strong hands. We're gonna raise this house with strong hands. We're gonna raise this house with strong hands. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna show our children courage. We're gonna show our children courage. We're gonna show our children courage. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna keep on moving forward. We're gonna keep on moving forward. We're gonna keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Okay, yes. All right. That was, yes. I love that because, yes, it is time for us to be bold, to work in love, to move together. Yes, that was beautiful. Next, we're going to have my auntie in the movement, Reverend Savina and Chantel, do an opening poem. So, yes, let's hear it. Excited.
Right, so Rev Savina, certainly my own revolutionary mother so far, and I know for so many in this room, and all over, wrote this poem for today, and so I will be reading it out. All right, revolutionary mothers. We are the movement, the new and unsettling force of revolutionary mothers and children demanding and shouting up and out of poverty now. We are crystal clear, and we hear the clarion call to lift up the lowly, the left out, release the rights. Holding the hands of our children, we demand our right to life, liberty, and justice. We are taking back. We call your name, the many Marys, the warriors, the ancestors that marched, walked out, sat in, bled, and spoke out for freedom and liberation. We call your name, blessed. We shall not be divided. We are white. We are Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander. We are LGBTQ, veteran, man, woman. We are believers and non-believers. We are the children given breath by the Great Spirit, born of the God-bearer, the Theotokos. We are the people, and to live is our human right. Come out from the pews and the encampments and onto the moral ground of resistance. Let's go block by block and organize a cadre of leaders now, not tomorrow, right now. We are the poor and low wage, organizing the poor to send the rich away empty. We are a national call for moral revival. Gather up the children from Selma to Philadelphia, Mississippi, to Albuquerque, to Los Angeles, to Charlottesville, to Appalachia, to the four corners of New England, marching on the plazas of the Vatican, Wall Street, and onto the halls of Congress. We declare today to stop the war on the poor. We are organizing 140 million. We are here. We are a new and unsettling force. Thank you, Reverend Savina.
Thank you, because you are right. We are here and we are clear and we are together. Thank you. So yesterday was the UN Day of Human Rights. We're going to have Reverend Savina talk a little bit about that. Reverend Savina?
It is still very, very noisy. Yeah. The National Union of the Homeless Winter Offensive celebrates and lifts the power behind the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. As mothers demand a right to housing, and as Chantel just said and repeated and read so eloquently this poem, we are a new and unsettling force. And I'll stop there. It's very distracting. I am in Rhode Island and it's very noisy, and I'll pass it on.
Perfect. And you are right. We are, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a terrible singer, but we are a new unsettling force and we are powerful. And that is one of my favorite songs, especially when the group starts singing it together. And it really shows who we are and what we stand for and the people we stand for, the people who some people think are expendable, but we are not expendable, and we are no longer acting accordingly. So with that said, we're going to have some sacred readings. First, it's going to be Katie. First it's going to be Jacob, and then Katie, and then Brooks after that. Thank you.
See my sibling Jacob with us right this second, so I'll jump in with Luke. My soul exalts the Lord, and my heart exalts before God, my Savior. And he has disregarded my humble origin, and from now on the ages will honor me. Great things the Almighty did for me, and holy be his name. From generation to generation, his mercies showers those who fear him. With his strong arm, he scatters the big boys who think they're somebody. He pulls thrones from under the royalty and gives dignity to the lowly. He loads the hungry with good things, but the rich he lets go with nothing at all. Mindful of mercy, he gives a lift to his people, just as he promised our fathers. Abraham, our father, and his many descendants. And James, as we talk about some revolutionary patience tonight. Be patient, therefore, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. The farmer waits for the precious crop from the earth, being patient with it until it receives the early and the late rains. You also must be patient. Strengthen your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is near. Brothers and sisters, do not grumble against one another so that you may not be judged. See, the judge is standing at the doors. As an example of suffering and patience, siblings, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord.
And for our final testimony tonight, I'll be reading from the Metta Sutta, the Buddhist words on loving kindness. Let no one deceive another, or despise anyone anywhere, or through anger or resistance perception, wish for another to suffer. As a mother would risk her life to protect her child, her only child, even so should one cultivate the heart limitlessly, with regard to all beings, with goodwill for the entire cosmos. Cultivate the heart limitlessly, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hostility or hate.
Beautiful. Thank you all for that. Next, we're going to have some reflections, and some testimonies and some policy work on some people who are really in the fields and really understanding. First, we'll have Keith, followed by Natasha. Yeah. And then after that, we will have, is the prophetess here yet? Yeah. No. And then next after that, we'll have Shally, and then we'll go from, and then Rob, but Shally will introduce her. So that got awkward. But yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it is a blessing, like always, to be able to be on here with my Freedom Church family, especially to be able to talk about revolutionary mothers and caregivers. And you know, this is a blessed text for me to speak on, because there's so many examples that I've been blessed to be able to personally know, but also to be able to study. But first, you know, my name is Keith Bullard. I'm the Deputy Director of the Union for Southern Service Workers, and we are raising up the South. It's so exciting to be able to say that, especially with my family here. But when I think about revolutionary mothers and caregivers, you know, I think it's common for us to instantly think of, you know, the amazing and powerful leaders that we all, you know, studied and heard of in the past, like, you know, Harriet Tubman or Ella Baker, or Septima Clark, and so many others that are, you know, really out there as being, you know, these revolutionary leaders and that we have studied and known and things. But when I think of revolutionary mothers, I want us to recognize the revolutionary mothers that are in all of our communities. And these are the mothers of the communities. These are the ones that you can go to their house and get a meal from after school. These are the ones that are making sure that the kids are able to cross the street and looking after them. These are the ones that you know, you can go over and get out of the rain or the cold to warm up. You know, these are the people that you can go to in the community that you know can make change. You know, they may not have a necessary platform. They may not necessarily have a appointed position, but what they do have is a purpose. And their purpose is looking out for the people in their community. And when I think of the word revolutionary, and I look at the definition of it, you know, one of the definition of it is is involving or causing a complete or dramatic change. You know, a revolutionary act and being able to cause a complete or dramatic change is feeding the poor. You know, feeding the poor, feeding those that go without, feeding those that are hungry. You know, being able to provide shelter, being able to provide, you know, the needs of the community. These are what people that I have been blessed to be brought up knowing and understanding and things, you know. And there's so many people like that we meet in this movement today. You know, I think of people like, I'll call her Mama E, Elena here in Durham, North Carolina, that when you meet her, she becomes your mother. She doesn't know you. She may not look like you. She may not have the same background, but she becomes your mother because she's there in the struggle with you, and she's there providing a need, seeing first, what can I do for the people that are in my community? One of the things that I'm blessed to be able to show is this video of Union for Southern Service Workers. And one of the amazing revolutionary mothers in this video is Mama Cookie. And this is a mother that when she worked at a restaurant, and she told everybody there that, hey, if you are working here, demand for $15 an hour, and don't demand for anything less than that. She's building up, you know, a sense of self-worth inside of people. But even though she's doing that on her job to build this union, I know that she's also there feeding people every day in her community out of her house sometimes. You know, she's the person that comes and just drops a bag of groceries off at your house that you didn't even ask for. And this is someone that is also a fast food worker. Someone that is sharing what she has to be able to provide for others, more than just a loving hug, but also ways to be able to fight for yourself, providing that knowledge of being able to stand up for yourself and being able to provide the support that you need to be able to keep on in this fight. And so it is amazing to be on here with you all, to be able to honor and recognize all of these amazing revolutionary mothers that we see each and every day in our communities. And it's amazing to be able to share with y'all this video that really uplifts how we see what revolutionary mothers are, and some of these people in this video, like Jamila, who works at Freddy's, who inspires her whole store to go out on strike to create change and create benefits at her job for those that may not even know her name, in other states and things. This is the things that the revolutionary mothers do. People like Beth Schaefer, who is fighting, who's been on every strike line, whether if it's her strike or someone else's strike, out there supporting, providing that support that they need to be able to keep on in this movement. And so it is a blessing to be able to share this video with you all.
Change the South. Change the nation.
That's exactly what we do.
We formed the Union of Southern Service Workers, USSW, a union being built by and for low-wage workers across the South.
Workers like us are coming together to build our power.
Because throughout history, we have been excluded from unionizing and left behind.
And because the history of the South
is also a history of resistors,
freedom fighters,
social movement builders,
and revolutionary workers. Speaking of history, let's back up. Since this country was founded, the South has been central to the fate of workers. Our nation was built on the unpaid labor of enslaved workers. That history of exploitation still shows up in our working conditions as Southern service workers and the living conditions of our communities.
Here in the Black Belt, we rank among the worst in the country in a whole lot of areas.
Shorter life expectancy,
low wages, and high child poverty.
Denial of basic rights, like blocking access to health care, denying our right to abortion, attacks on voting rights,
less protections for workers,
dangerous and unstable working conditions.
And of course, we have the lowest union rates in the nation. So how do we end up here? Well, let's look at the laws the Southern legislators put in place to suppress workers. Jump forward to the Reconstruction era.
When Southern business owners saw the potential power of early multiracial unions.
They feared what would happen when Black and white workers organized around common demands.
So let's not forget, Southern workers have always been organizing and resisting.
During every era,
working people in the South have found ways to fight for freedom.
But workers getting united was a threat to the system.
So to protect the South's Jim Crow economy,
they passed laws that made it harder for Black and Southern workers to organize unions.
At the exact same moment, the labor movement was taking off in other parts of the country.
After decades of workers organizing and demanding,
the New Deal finally passed
minimum wage laws,
overtime protection,
and union rights. But these laws excluded big categories of workers.
Farm workers, domestic workers, and tipped workers.
And these categories of excluded workers, they just happen to be the backbone of the Southern service industry.
An industry powered by the labor of black and brown workers. And that's still true today.
Today, we still have the lowest union rates in the country.
And bosses are still doing their best to keep us separated by race.
So we don't come together and unionize.
And we're changing that right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
For the last 10 years,
Southern fast food workers, care workers, and retail workers have been organizing under the banner of Raise Up.
Part of the fight for 15 and a union.
our worker-led movement has been fighting for decent wages,
safe workplaces,
dignity, and respect. And most of all, we've been demanding a seat at the table.
So we can be making the decisions
about our working conditions. The Union of Southern Service Workers is born out of this decade of collective struggle.
And I'm demanding that we get this union.
And USSW is doing things different.
Instead of organizing store by store or only making demands from one employer, we are coming together across the service industry.
I'm talking to my dollar store workers,
my nursing home workers,
my warehouse workers stacking boxes, my restaurant servers working for tips.
We're calling all of you into this movement.
Join us and then sign up your coworkers.
We're uniting around what we have in common, even though we work for different companies.
Organize your whole store. Organize your whole neighborhood.
And they are protesting several things, including higher
We're organizing to win structural changes at work.
We're going to transform these low-wage, high-turnover jobs
into good union jobs.
How? By building power in numbers.
And turning up the pressure on these bosses and CEOs. When working class people stand shoulder to shoulder, we can fight corporate greed.
We can overcome government neglect.
We can dismantle systemic racism.
We know there's a long road ahead,
but we are building on a long, deep history of Southern struggle.
We stand on the shoulders of unsung freedom fighters,
movement builders,
and revolutionary workers who paved the way for us.
We are launching our union,
the Union of Southern Service Workers,
with a plan to win.
We're taking to the streets.
We'll go to the courtrooms.
We're taking direct action
by any means necessary.
We are fighting for a better future.
For ourselves.
For our kids.
For our neighborhoods.
For the South.
For the South.
For the South.
For the South. The South.
Well, woo, I was gonna say that's fine. Okay, and
yes. Those are the revolutionary mothers and caregivers, and so many others that are changing the South. And just like we always say, change the South, change the nation, change the world. We know that, and these revolutionary mothers are the ones that are leading the way. So thank you all, Freedom Church.
Ooh, thank you. Well, Nadia, come on, homie. I can't wait to hear from you. Okay. So please, you're on mute.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nadia Patterson. First, I would like to thank you all for inviting me to speak here today. I'm a single mother of an 8-year-old. While living in Baltimore, I have spent plenty of nights worrying about how am I going to feed my child, even provide a stable place to stay. How am I going to... Okay, to this day, I often wonder, how am I going to be able to provide not only a stable environment for my child, but also keep it going. Now, we were evicted and we had to stay in Motel 6 for a month. Imagine doing things in order to make sure your child eats because your child's stomach is growling, and to keep their stomach from growling, you just said, "Hey, I have to be a mom first." The the thing that gets me is that there are 140 million people in the United States that are homeless, but we're the richest country in the world. Why does poverty exist? Why aren't our voices being heard? No one wants to be homeless. No one wants to hear their child saying, "Hey, mom, I remember when we stayed in Motel 6 and I had to eat different things, even though, some nights I couldn't eat because we couldn't afford for me to eat." No mother or no one wants to be homeless. No one wants to be put into different situations where so their back is caught up against the wall. So the question is when? When will our voices be heard? That's all I want to know. When? I thank God for you guys inviting me again. I thank God for the poor people, put people first, Freedom's Church, and also the United Works for having me and letting me know that I'm not alone. Thank you.
That's right. The question is when. And we are just going to continue to say when, and we are going to build this army, and we are building us up together so we can know we are a new unsettling force, and we are powerful, and we are getting our power back and gaining our strength. Next, we'll have Shally.
Thank you, Zilla. So I'm here really to introduce Rob Hartley, an economist who we've worked with for several years, who will say a few words on the kinds of policies that we need that center the poor, but also lift up the whole of our society. And I just wanted to say before we heard from Rob that it's the experiences and organizing that come from Nadia and the United Workers and the Union of service workers and so many other people who are building this movement every day that inform the policies that we've been calling for, both in our organizations and in this broader movement. They reflect the patient urgency of mothers and caregivers and families who know that we are all deserving of having every single one of our rights met, not once or twice, not when there's a room in the shelter or when we can pull the rent together, but every single day. And because we are all deserving, we and they and all of us are organizing and pushing for all of our rights to be realized every single day, which, as Keith reminded us, is a revolutionary act. So some of what we've called for in the Poor People's Campaign and in the rest of our work and organizations is to end evictions, to end foreclosures and housing sweeps, is to end rent increases and make and expand affordable housing and safe public housing for everyone who needs it, is to have relief from housing and rental debt. It's to raise the minimum wage and ensure that everybody is protected at work and at home. And over the past 2 years, we've seen that many of these policies were actually implemented, some only in part, some only temporarily, but we know they are possible. And if they have been implemented, that we can make sure they can be done so again. So Rob Hartley, who's an economist, he works on welfare and social policy, and he also has a background in Christian ministry. Rob is a professor at the Columbia School of Social Work and is affiliated with the Columbia Population Research Center and the Center on Poverty and Social Policy. We actually met years ago at an art build at Union Theological Seminary. And over the past several years, we've worked together on identifying and quantifying who are the poor and low-income people in this country, who are the 140 million, and disaggregating those numbers, describing them by where people live, by race, by gender, by age, and also on the power of low-income voters. So Rob, you're here tonight to speak to us about how policies that center and prioritize the poor can benefit, have benefits that by far outweigh their costs. So just thank you for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Shelley. And I have to say, I'm really grateful to be here in the space with all of you, and I'm humbled to be among all of these organizers. I so greatly respect the work that you do. I'm inspired, Nadia, by your story and your question of when, and I hope that echoes in when I talk about the policy potential, what we've seen that we could do, and hopefully we will see this policy become reality. And also, just Keith, the stories and the videos just so powerful, and I hope that also I can reflect some of this idea of the revolutionary mother who is shaping the world around them, not just like internal in their small families, but this big family. So I'm going to talk about policy, and when policy supports mothers, it's supporting mothers who are caring for children, investing in their future. And I'm going to talk about some benefit cost analyses that we've done for a policy like a child allowance. Because when you're giving, if you give $1,000 to a mother, that's money that invests in a child's future earnings, a child's future health, a child's future productivity in society that's going to continue to benefit others around them. And one way we can try to study a policy like this is to count up all of the costs and all of the benefits that accrue to all of us in society. And so when we do that for a child allowance, we saw how this could work during the American Rescue Plan. We took a child tax credit that was $2,000, and it was only going to people that had enough income to receive it, or enough taxes to benefit from it. And they made it larger, up to $3,600 for younger kids, $3,000 for others. And they made it where everyone could benefit, whether they had earnings or not. And if you look at the total cost of doing this, we estimate that it's around $97 billion per year. But when we add up all of the benefits to society, the long run benefits from that 97 billion, it totals over 900 billion. This is 10 times the cost that we're putting into a program like this. And if you think about it, so estimating this, it requires lots of assumptions. But even if we look at the most conservative assumptions we can, the very strictest assumptions, we would see like maybe 300 billion. Like, how much benefit do you need to make it worthwhile? Is it a 3-to-1, a 6-to-1? We estimate that it's more like 10-to-1 the benefits we get from society when we're investing this money with the mothers for these children. Some of the outcomes we've seen already from that plan, which is no longer permanent, some people saw it as just a temporary response, would call for as an ongoing needed response of policy. I'll keep my time short. We've also looked at benefit cost of other programs like supporting childcare, making it easier for mothers to choose to work outside of the home, even though we know that they're already caring for children, they're caring for others. And there we see similar benefits. But these long run benefits, I mentioned future earnings, future health. Part of the assumption is that low-income mothers would be making these investments themselves if they had that money. Policy can put the money in place to support all of our children. And we have economically struggling mothers who they're working, whether they're providing care or also taking on low-income jobs. And if we value that work like we do in some other spheres, like the earned income tax credit, or if we value that work with a universal child allowance, then we really see families able to spend, save, and have some peace of mind while they invest in all of our children. So thank you again for letting me be in this space, and thanks.
Well, thank you. And you're right. All work is valuable. And yet again, the question is when. We've seen it get a big population of children out of poverty. So, and remember, poverty is the sin, not the person in it. And that's what we need to continue to think about and uplift, is like the system is sinful, not the people. So next we'll have Brooks with a prayer and or meditate. Oh, I'm sorry. Keith, you had a question? Okay, no. Right. All right. Next will be Brooks with a prayer or meditation. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, everyone. I'd first just like us all to take a moment to soak in all that we've just heard. So take a nice deep breath. In and exhale on the way out. And if you're a praying person, I invite your heart to join with mine as we share in this prayer of the peoples. Mother, Creator, and everything God, in this season of waiting, we give pause to those revolutionary creators, mothers, and caregivers. We pause in hope, love, and joy. We pause for those without whom none of us would be here. Because from here to Dunsinane, all of us were born of a woman and in the love of a caretaker, each reflecting the first act of the Creator, a revolutionary act. In a world that seeks to kill in so many ways, it is the mothers and caregivers who bring life to a death-dealing world. Like the farmer, they waited for their precious crop. You. And like them, we wait. We wait with those underserved and unhoused in Rhode Island, in the National Union of the Homeless this winter as they struggle, freezing and starving. We wait with the Union of Southern Service Workers and all labor organizers as they suffer unjust working conditions and compensation unbefitting their worth. We wait with Sister Cookie, Sister Jamila, Sister Beth as they hope up their community. We wait with Brother Rob as he fights to demonstrate unequivocally that these mothers and caregivers need help. And we wait with Sister Nadia as she fights to feed and house her child in the richest country in the world and asks that powerful question, when? When? We are not content that they remain an example of suffering and patience. So we pray that the powerful are brought down from their thrones. We pray that the rich are sent away empty-handed. We pray that the hungry may be filled and that the lowly may be filled up with the strength of our arms and the imagination of our hearts. For they were, are, and forever shall be someone's baby. And with that same care, we turn now to the peaks and valleys within our own community. We lift up and celebrate our own Sister Forsyth and her husband as they celebrate another year on Big Blue. And we ask you to watch over Sister Herman as she travels to be with her mother's people in Kansas and Nebraska. We lift up the incarcerated parents separated from their children while longing to be together, praying for their liberation. And I also ask that you pray for my mother as she struggles with heart problems this week. And it is with those boundless hearts that we cherish all living things, radiate kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded. Ashe and Amen.
That's right. Amen, amen, amen. Thank you, Brooks, for that. And just thank you for letting me facilitate today. I'm going to go to Adam next, but I just want to say that there are a lot of people even on here who have been like my movement caregivers and people who care. That's what I appreciate about Freedom Church of the Poor and Cairo Center and Put People's First PA and everyone in our collective is that we are really living into the world that we want to see, that we are caregivers and mothers and aunties and cousins and siblings to each other, because this world wants us divisive and apart. But the reality is we are stronger together, better together. And we all are asking the collective question that Nadia put forward is when. Because we've seen these policies change, and we know that they can change and change a lot of people. And the numbers don't lie. If you're on the conservative effort, I'm like, woo, blind blowing. With that said, thank you. Next, we'll have Adam with the announcements. And then after that, we'll have Josh with the closing song. Thank you.
Thank you, Zilla, for your leadership tonight and keeping the spirit alive. And wow, Brooks, what a prayer. Appreciate that, tying everything together and choking us all up. So yes, announcements. First of all, I just want to remind everyone to stay in touch with the Freedom Church community. If you haven't already, there's a sign-up sheet that we can drop here in the chat. We'd love to stay in touch, and of course, spread the word, and everyone is welcome every Sunday. This coming week, we have, as usual, Bible study on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Everyone's welcome there as well. You can get more information through the sign-up sheet there. And the Winter Offensive continues. We're almost to Christmas in the Christian tradition, and we have 2 more services leading up to that as a part of what was called the Winter Offensive, an organizing drive that was originated in the National Union of the Homeless. So we next week we'll have another powerful service for as a part of that Winter Offensive, and it's close to what is the longest night of the year, and this is another important date within the Winter Offensive, the night that is the longest, the darkest, and it is that night or that time of year out of which hope was born into the world and the Christian tradition. So we'll have a powerful service there, and just to note that a lot of the partner organizations that are part of the Freedom Church Network and the Poor People's Campaign are out there doing vigils and observing this night with folks, including the Massachusetts PPC and here in New York. Also want to lift up, as it has been in several points throughout the night, the ongoing actions at the Rhode Island State House. Might show a quick clip if we have time of the encampment rally that is happening there. Powerful work coming together and standing up for people in Rhode Island. Also, finally, so you know what? Let me show a quick clip of that since we have it, and then a quick clip for the powerful work of the Poor People's Campaign has been doing to get out the vote. So quickly on Rhode Island, this came out just today as folks took over the State House in Rhode Island.
Going anywhere, hear us out, hear us say, we're not going to your grave. Hear us out, hear us say, we're not going to your grave. You won't bury us now.
Amazing. So if you want more information about that struggle, get in touch with us, and Lord knows they need our support. So we're happy to share more about that if you are interested. And then finally, the Poor People's Campaign, as you know, has been very busy this past election cycle in getting out the vote and texting folks. And so for all those that chipped in, which was a lot of us, we're going to have a special call here coming up. And sorry, Sabina, did you want to say a word about that before I move? I see folks in Rhode Island are here. Okay.
Thank you for the word. Thank you for the support. We love you.
Thank you.
All right, we love y'all too. Keep up the fight.
All right, it's only beginning.
That's right.
That's right. All right, much love to Rhode Island.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cool. That's cool. Oh, I love that. All right. So last announcement for our Poor People campaign leaders. They're out there working to change this country and world. Let me find this video. What am I doing? I'm sharing screen and my Zoom is over here. Sometimes you got to talk yourself through it. Here it is.
Good morning, Techsperts. Becca Forsythe here with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, national text tech team. I wanted to take a moment to thank our whole team and the hundreds and hundreds of amazing volunteers that worked with us throughout this tech storm to Georgia. I want to take a moment to let you know the magnitude of what we really accomplished. On Tuesday, December 6th, Election Day in Georgia, we texted more than 1.3 million people at the rate of about 3,000 texts a minute. That was in one day. Throughout the Georgia runoff, we texted more than 5.5 million people in Georgia, encouraging them to vote. When we add that to the more than 7 million that we sent during the general election, it adds up to over 13 million texts sent just since the end of September. That's 77 days. Wow. This is how we build the beloved community and spread the word. We know it's not red versus blue, but right versus wrong. This was a beautiful expression of our dedication to changing this world and building the third Reconstruction. We deeply appreciate your efforts, and we can't wait to bring you all back together again and do it again. Stay tuned to the Slack and your email for future opportunities. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Forward together, not one step back.
Beautiful. Thank you, Becca, and thank you all. That's it for announcements, unless there's others in the room here that want to share anything. Otherwise, I'll pass it to Josh.
All right. All right. Well, so I have a song that I'd like to share. It's called Touching Soft Spots, and it's one that I wrote. So here goes. How could I aspire to be anything in the dark shade of that tree, cowering from a world that I knew was violent, once a child building temples, calling in the silence, to fill a heart that would shatter at touch, to speak of love with the fear of blinds clattering up, to know that fists wait for queers and the batter was up, judgment equals pain, hate's math adding it up. Knowing through tears I deserve to be free, that the loud ones were wrong, no crime to just be. The smile in my soul is no social disease. I dove into these words and love dove into me. And what it found hard forged in the dark was the will to hold sacred what the others discard. Find beauty in the life that is struggling hard. There's a sickness in the structure. Let's take it apart. Touching soft spots can make it hard to speak, but solidarity can feed you like a pound of meat. Courage in the offer instead of sounding weak. Heart pounds when the calling finds arms and feet. Resistance is a door pain leads you to. No one reaches for the handle without a battle or two. It takes a large heart just to handle the view. Despair's broad realm and routes can be handled by few, but all fighters had a moment in time where two truths sprung up, embraced and combined. First, it sucks, recognition not confined to great minds, unutterable truth of our time. Second, you're not powerless. This is as true as because the oppression is obvious. Wage work as a stuck sand hourglass, thinking like a fishbowl when the ocean opens arms at last. These combine to mean there's something to do. You've got a problem and a tool, a point of departure and a point of view. No one has to point at you. Choose and be bold and then follow it through. To the final recognition of a power at its bareness. Our words and deeds are threads we weave. No need to be careless. Life, balance, and action in a joyful risk help us share it. Hearts humming this tune helps us bear it and break it. Solidarity is a human bond to hold sacred. The struggle won't advance unless we make it. Increase capacity, then active struggle and remake it. The rich say you had a tough break, so we'll break it. Responsibility and dignity is what we're taking. The world is ours. We've paid in pain a better one we're making. Responsibility and dignity is what we're taking. The world is ours. We've paid in pain a better one we're making. Touching soft spots can make it hard to speak, but solidarity can feed you like a pound of meat. Courage in the offer instead of sounding weak. Heart pounds when the calling finds arms and feet. Each step on this earth is a grateful one. The loving ring of conscience when the day is done. The best parts of yourself, there's no disgracing them. Curl open like a leaf, release, and face the sun. Touching soft spots can make it hard to speak, but solidarity can feed you like a pound of meat. Courage in the offer instead of sounding weak. Heart pounds when the calling finds arms and feet. Heart pounds when the calling finds arms and feet.
Woo! Thank you. Our hearts are together. We are moving in solidarity. We are being bold. We're being in love. And of course, we are being a new unsettling force, asking the question, when? Thank you. Try to be a light in somebody's life because there's not